Family and Marital Counseling, Unit 3, Classification of Families. Minuchin's classification, Olson's classification. Thirdly, Minuchin's classification of families based on the principle of adaptability. Just as Minuchin classified families on the dimension of cohesion, he also classified them in terms of adaptability, or the ability to adjust and face sudden challenges and changes. The four patterns are as follows. First, the chaotic family is the one where, when faced with certain challenging factors, each member responds differently from the others, using contradictory methods compared to what others are doing. Secondly, on the opposite end of the adaptability continuum, there is the rigid family, where all family members respond in the same way. This family does not seem to be affected by what happens to them or the problems they face. Thirdly, there is the flexible family, which exhibits flexible responses. In this pattern, the family looks at the situation as a whole, examines their options, and tries to come up with a strategy. If this strategy fails. Secondly, the family that issues rigid responses. On the opposite end of the adaptation continuum is the family that issues rigid responses, in which all family members respond to the same script. This family does not seem to be affected by what happens to it or the problems it faces. The family that shows flexible responses. Two intermediate patterns exist between extremes. The first is the family that shows flexible responses. In this pattern, the family looks at the situation as a whole, looks at their options, and develops a strategy. If this strategy fails, the family reassesses the situation and finds alternatives to reach a new strategy. This continues until the issue is resolved. In this pattern, family members behave and take views according to the circumstances. The family that shows regulated responses. The last family shows standard responses. In this pattern, the family limits its actions and relies on cognitive and repetitive behavioral methods to face challenges. Their responses follow a known and traditional sequence. The family reviews the situation, finds alternatives, and reaches a new plan. This continues until the issue is resolved. In this pattern, family members behave and take views according to the circumstances. Fourthly, the family that exhibits regulated responses. The fourth and final pattern of families is the one that shows a standard response. In this pattern, the family narrows the scope of its behavior and relies on cognitive and repetitive behavioral methods to face challenges. Their responses follow a known and traditional sequence. Family classification on the adaptability continuum: high adaptability, low adaptability, chaotic, flexible, regulated, and rigid.